I'm Rumbidzai Goredema. Let's get straight into our news. The Deputy Minister of Information, Communication Technology, Postal and Courier Services, Dr. Jerifan Muswere, today officially opened the SADC Capacity Building Workshop on Regional Internet Exchange Points. The event was attended by players in the IT sector in the SADC region, and it is meant to facilitate regional internet exchange points and reduce the cost of internet usage in the region, with Zimbabwe and South Africa winning the bid to facilitate the process. We had a close-up with SADC Senior Programs Officer Dr. George Athel with regards to the initiative, who said there is need for capacity building on the Zimbabwean infrastructure landscape. Let's have a look.
We also receive a small payment. We've got settlement rate.
So
but
we
also receive settlement rate for international calls submitted in Zimbabwe. But when it comes to internet, we Africans seem to be paying the complete pipe, the complete solution, irrespective we send traffic or receive traffic. So we're going to be discussing this matter to try and bring up the discussion again on the international fora, that it is time for us to also discuss of how we can reduce this cost, because we're paying a lot for internet. And lastly, in terms of internet penetration, now, as you know, internet is very important. We need to provide more access, but we also need to increase its performance. And that's another reason of looking at other avenues, how to really optimize the infrastructure that government has invested in and private sectors have invested in terms of internet to give a good experience to users. But the whole idea now is to focus on how Zimbabwe can now leverage that regional exchange point, bring value.
Following an announcement made in October, which stated the introduction of new notes and coins, which are being injected into the market, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has issued a statement advising the public that with effect from the 11th of November 2019, it will issue $2 coins which shall be used alongside the existing notes and coins. This is meant to ease the cash shortages that are currently being experienced in the country. The Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. John Mangujga, did make reference to the introduction of these notes and coins. Let's hear him speak.
Very honest, which is typical of myself. I want to have three value systems. One is being transparent and respect for those who don't like me. So I think I've got a very high respect. Now, to other question in simple terms, number one, we have got one coins in circulation, one notes in circulation of $2 notes and $5 notes. We are going to have one coins of $2 in circulation, and we are going to have $2 of currency money in circulation, and $5 not of currency money in circulation. They are going to be used interchangeably, because one is one-to-one. And the new currency won't have any gold bond note, just not $5. It's just $2. But at the same, they're all green in that publish. So when you look at them, they're still the same. He said, you always don't be for Gete one-to-one. They also Gete one-to-one. I think I've answered the question. I've tried.
Thank you, Governor. You have answered his question. It's now very clear.
Very honest.
In another story, microfinance bank GETBUCKS recorded an 11.4 million profit after tax for the year ended 30 June 2019. This is a 153% growth from the 4.5 million Zimbabwean dollars recorded in the previous year. The GETBUCKS chairman, Mr. Runganumbire, attributed the growth to higher fees and commissions on loans of Zimbabwean dollars 7.5 million, resulting from increased loan sales and fair value gains on the investment property of Zimbabwean dollars 18.5 million. Going forward, the bank aims to focus on the use of technology to generate new revenue streams. And finally, Kenya's largest telecom operator, SAFARICOM, announces partnership with South Africa's VODACOM on expansion into Ethiopia after the release of their half-year 2020 interim results. Ethiopia is one of the few countries in the world that is saved by a monopoly in the telecom sector, the state-owned Ethio Telecommunications. The Ethiopian government has started a process of offering licenses to private players, hence the move by SAFARICOM and VODACOM. Tune in to our news review after this bulletin. Thank you.
Climbing to the top takes more than just hard work and smart choices. It's the passion that drives you from within, the endurance to keep going through difficult times, and having a very clear vision of how to succeed. That's what we strive for at CBZ. We're a diversified and innovative listed financial services group in Zimbabwe, with a complete range of activities, including banking, short and long-term insurance, asset management, and property investments. CBZ has been a pinnacle for stability in the economic landscape of Zimbabwe, stemming from our deep-rooted values, our excellent customer service delivery, and our corporate vision to strive for excellence as a global competitor. Our continuous investment in research and development will cement our promise to provide customer convenience utilizing state-of-the-art technology. Relationships are at the core of what we do. We understand, however, that strong, long-lasting partnerships are not built overnight. With over 3 decades of wealth management, we have come to understand our clients and their specific investment requirements. Our unique mix of skills ensures that investment opportunities are examined from all perspectives. The balancing rocks of Zimbabwe have weathered the elements for thousands of years and stood the test of time, like majestic reminders of the fine balance of nature. They challenge our perception of what is possible and what endures. Just as CBZ has weathered the economic storms and remained steadfast throughout the turbulence of unsettled economies. Achieving the impossible through resilience and stability, we balance the elements of hard work, dedication, and experience, making us your ideal partner for success.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to NEWSvia right on Equity Access. Now, with me on set is Respect Gwenzi, our Chief Analyst at Equity Access, and of course, I'm Eben Mabunda. Respect, good evening and welcome to NEWSvia.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
Beautiful. To get the ball rolling, GETBUCKS issuing their financial results for the year ended 30 June 2019. Some of the key highlights therein are, of course, a 153% growth in as far as the profit after tax is concerned. Bolstering their performance in that regard would be the contribution of higher fees and commissions on loans, and as well, of course, fair value adjustment on some of their key assets in that particular regard. What is your comment in terms of their performance in a nutshell?
Yeah, so basically, I think GETBUCKS is a unique MFI in that it is one of the few 3 microfinance institutions which have got a deposit taking license, and it is ambitiously looking at getting a commercial bank license by year end. But what you have observed over the past 3 years is that they've been able to source funds from the market through bond issuances, and they've then channeled this money towards loans. And the nature of their loans is such that because they're microfinance institutions, they're able to charge a higher fee in terms of their loans. So when you find commercial banks loaning at 16% per annum, they are possibly charging 10 to 15% per month. So this actually speeds up the growth rate of their interest income line. And this is the background over which the bank has been growing over the past few years. But when you're looking at the non-funded income line, they're still low in that space. There's a low uptake in terms of their non-funded income products. But as they get to the year end where they're supposed to get a commercial bank license, I'm sure there are a broad range of products that they're bound to release to satisfy customers in the non-funded space. But also, if you look at the past history of this institution, they get listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange in 2016, and they're now part of a broader group which is called MyBucks, a Pan-African institution. Is getting a banking license recently in Botswana. And so I think they really have got that shareholder muscle to see them through. Still, the capitalization is still quite low when you compare to what's required is for commercial banks to have a capitalization position of about 200 million by 2020. They're sitting at about 37 million thereabout. But I see them aggressively pulling funds over the next few months so as to position them to get the commercial bank license by year end.
What would be their growth prospects in as far as the local market is concerned?
Getting from an MFI to a commercial bank is a completely different, I think it is a completely different territory, and they're likely to face challenges because as a commercial bank you need scale, and once you lower down your loan interest, it simply means it also reduces your ability to earn money from that perspective. So I think they're still low in terms of their competitiveness in that space. But they have been able to leverage technology. They're one of the few fintech banks that are out there. And this, if they push much in terms of researching on how IT is impacting banking across the globe, they might create their niche in that space. But as of now, it's not quite clear which strategy they'll take and what market share they might end up getting in that space.
I think an approach that pretty much revolves around the whole fintech and IT aspect of things would actually be working for them, because look, over the past few months we've seen several banks, several players in the field actually coming in to close some of their branches. A good example, of course, would be Stanbic as well as the Standard Chartered Bank. They've been working at eliminating some of their branches in a move toward digitalization. So I think if fintech could leverage on that, which has proved to be their strength in the past, that would actually yield positives for them and perhaps change the matrix on the Zimbabwean business landscape. But as we make progress, let's talk about RPIX's announcements that they've actually said that on the 11th of November we're seeing the introduction of the $2 coins onto the market. How important is that particular development?
I think if you try to look at this whole approach over which the RPIX has taken over the past 10 months or so, they've tried to be cautious in terms of how they are instituting or releasing a new currency onto the market. You see the October 1, 2018, where they separated the accounts. Get to February, you introduce an interbank market where the local currency, purported local currencies trading freely to other currencies. We get to June, where they then say we have we're now doing away with multi-currency. We now retain one currency, which is the ZIM dollar. And then you get to October, where they then said we're now introducing the physical notes. And now they're still using that kind of cautious approach to say we are releasing $2 coins, but I don't think it's quite significant at the present moment. Why? Because people need higher denomination notes and coins actually to be able to meet some of their day-to-day demands. But I see RPIX trying to push back, trying to read sentiment and then react according to what the populace is demanding. But on a more broader scale, all this effect of introducing new notes and coins is not supposed to have any serious impact in terms of bloating our money supply. That is, if we do things by the book, that is according to a principle which says you have to debit the source and you credit the receiver. And so if that approach is used between the RTGS and the currency itself, I mean the paper itself, then there could be no effect on money supply.
And then of course RBZ has also indicated that they are targeting a money supply of 10%, which is pretty much within the regional as well as international thresholds of between 10 to 15%. Would that perhaps, scratch right where it is itching in as far as liquidity issues are concerned?
I think it's twofold. to really say they will do away with the cash flow challenges in the economy, it might be an overassumption. Why? Because if you are targeting a ratio, you have your numerator and denominator, and if you increase your denominator on a constant numerator, then you are likely to see improving results. But now there's a variable which is also moving. Money supply broadly has been moving over the past few months. So it doesn't matter that you induce notes, new notes and coins. It also matters that you keep money supply constant. So if you push money supply up and you're injecting more notes and coins, you might still maintain the same disparity between the two values. So in order for this to work, it means they have to stop growing money supply through TBs and so forth, which are the measures that they've been using all along. So it's not something that you can just say. I think that the scarcity of hard notes and coins in the market will simply go away because RBZ has injected cash flows. What if they wake up having monetized $2 billion in TBs due to someone, and it adds to the total money supply? It simply means that ratio will go down because the numerator is growing on a maybe less proportionate growth in the denominator. So I don't really think there's a one answer to this. It depends on RBZ's ability to contain money supply. Otherwise, they created this problem through inducing money supply growth, and they now come and tell us that there is $19 billion in money supply, therefore we need to increase our notes and coins. Who increased the money supply in the first place? Was it justified? What were the means? What are the benefits to the economy? So all this needs to be looked at in the context of the broader money supply. There are really other threats that are there, and the notable threats are that government has been issuing TBs, they've been monetizing debt, and those are the key risks to currency failure.
Fair enough. Now to move beyond Zimbabwe and taking a look towards perhaps the eastern region of the continent, Ethiopia's telco giant SAFARICOM alongside VODACOM are engaging into a partnership to penetrate the Ethiopian telecoms market, which has seen pretty much a monopoly by Ethio Telecom. And now a license, this follows, of course, the issuance of a license to a third party in that regard. How important and how significant is this particular initiative for Ethiopia on the one hand, on the other hand, for these two competitive players on the continent, SAFARICOM as well as VODACOM?
Yes, so I think Ethiopia is a very interesting market in that, for interest's sake, it is the first African country to have introduced telecoms back in the 1880s, thereabout. But then there has been depressed growth levels in terms of the economy over the years, even up to date. You find that Ethiopia is a country which has one of the lowest GDP per capita in the whole world. It is known for impoverishment and so forth. And so this has been some of the challenges that it has faced in failing to kick off in the global economy. So the current president, the current prime minister who got into power a year ago, yes, he has promised to deregulate industry. And one of the sectors that he has targeted is telecoms. Of course, there are other areas, but those areas are actually fizzling out. There's been a lot of development, infrastructure development over the past few years, and this has led to a successive GDP growth of an average of about 9% per annum over the past 10 years. So this is huge in that Ethiopia is actually the most, in fact, the country with the highest growth rate in the whole world, actually ahead of China. But they're coming from a very low base. And one of the reasons why they remain with a low GDP per capita is that this is the second most populous country in Africa after Nigeria, and the world's 12th most populous country at 113 113 million inhabitants. But when you're looking in the context of telecoms, we have a player which is called Ethio Telecoms. Ethio Telecoms has maintained a monopoly. Over the years, it has changed names and so forth. But since 2010, they've been using the name Ethio Telecoms. And to date, they have 43 million subscribers, which makes mobile penetration in that market at 43%. So we still have got above, we have got a market which has got a 50% virgin market. So they're now looking at ways of maximizing value in this sector. So the Prime Minister has now said, let's first deal with the telecoms issue. Why? Because it's a low-hanging fruit. If you look at the scale, at 43 million, there's no telecoms company in the whole world which has got such subscribers in a single country. So you can talk of VODACOM. They have got a spread of more than 14 nations. And when you collect their total, you might find the figure above 43 million. But in a single country like South Africa or Nigeria, you won't find VODACOM having those numbers. And you have another emerging giant in the form of SAFARICOM. They've been doing good in the East African markets. The growth in Kenya and some of the regions, regional countries there. And the most popular, their most popular service has been the M-Pesa, which now is, according to results which came out a few days ago, the highest revenue driver for SAFARICOM. So now that this strategy has been laid out, what the government has gone on to do is to say, we need to invite bids. We need to add 2 more telecom companies to add on to the existing Ethio Telecom. So Ethio Telecom will be partially privatized. They haven't figured out the exact percentage over which they want to accept private capital, but they're going to privatize it. There are indications already. KPMG has given them indications over the possible target. But now what happens is, when Ethio Telecoms, when they open up the sector to third parties, they want to do it at a point where Ethio Telecoms has consolidated. So they want to first have a player who takes up a stake within Ethio Telecoms. Push up in terms of technology. There's still low penetration, especially in terms of mobile money. Mobile money in Ethiopia is offered by a third party. It's simply a fintech company which has partnered the top bank in that country. And so I'm sure that once they get a partner, they're going to now get a license to get into mobile money, and they can partner maybe another big bank to offer that service before SAFARICOM and VODACOM comes in. And there's going to be another third player. So this is an interesting market in that it has got scale. Whenever you've got scale, I'm sure Strive Masiwa has always emphasized this. If you want to be successful, especially on the African market, in effect, globally, you have to have scale. Yes, you have to look at scale. So if you cannot achieve scale, that means your business is bound to fail. So Ethiopia is an interesting market in that there's still potential for sustained growth. They still see the growth over the next 10 years averaging at least 8%. And that's huge to every serious business in Africa. Everyone should be looking at that. So they still have got these low levels of GDP per capita, and there are all these reforms that are coming through. If you have noted over the past few weeks as well, the Prime Minister was talking about creating the world's biggest dam which they will use to produce electricity, which they will export to the region. So I think Ethiopia is an interesting market, and the coming in of SAFARICOM and VODACOM is something that obviously most analysts have already predicted, because these are some of the biggest players in Africa as well as in that same region. Yeah.
Oh, quite an interesting development. And, of course, as we wrap it up, the recent arrest of
much of the impact on the fiscus is due to corruption at parastatal levels, and so I think government should do more. We have just seen the arrest of Priska Mfumira over the past 3 months or so, and nothing really concrete has come out of that. We saw the chombos and so forth, and I believe it's just politics. For now, I just believe it's politics. We have to see something material. We have to see something which is quite wider. We know the culprits. We see them every day. I think justice should be done at a much faster rate.
I realize. And do you think that this would be perhaps the more trivial players on the corruption side of things, and maybe there is bigger fish to be caught within that?
Like I said,
ocean?
I believe this is just a carrot. To me, I still stand to be proven wrong. I haven't seen a government's commitment towards pursuing this path. I don't believe that they're going to do with corruption decisively. My position is that the records have been there. I mean, since 1980, we have the records, and it's just a matter of escalating the issues with ZAC or whoever is responsible in that respect. And we shouldn't see individuals being taken at an interval of 2 to 3 months. That's wrong. We need to hear 10, 15, 20, 30 names, and we just need to see the whole parastatal bosses being chucked. They've been making losses at their entities. They just need to go. I mean, that's part of the corruption. If you're giving somebody who is incompetent a job and they're weighing on the fiscus, obviously that's corruption, that's nepotism and so forth. So there should be a widespread engagement of this sort. We shouldn't have isolated cases to pacify the population. That's my challenge with the model that's being pursued. That's why I believe it's just a carrot to cool off tempers. We are in tough times. People are suffering, and so they need to pacify people. That's my own view, and I think maybe we need to watch the space to see how sincere the government is. But I don't believe that there's anything serious that's coming out of this.
Interesting a move to pacify the masses. Well, this concludes what we had in store for you tonight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and to visit our informative website www.equityaccess.net. The Equity Access team and I, Danke and ciao.
Climbing to the top takes more than just hard work and smart choices. It's the passion that drives you from within, the endurance to keep going through difficult times, and having a very clear vision of how to succeed. That's what we strive for at CBZ. We're a diversified and innovative listed financial services group in Zimbabwe, with a complete range of activities, including banking, short and long-term insurance, asset management, and property investments. CBZ has been a pinnacle for stability in the economic landscape of Zimbabwe, stemming from our deep-rooted values, our excellent customer service delivery, and our corporate vision to strive for excellence as a global competitor. Our continuous investment in research and development will cement our promise to provide customer convenience utilizing state-of-the-art technology. Relationships are at the core of what we do. We understand